YouTube, Brian Phillips. We got something new and exciting and special. Limited quantities available of this. So if you like it, buy it now or forever hold your peace or something like that. They got a special from the factory and we're hoping it's a good special. That being said, it's the L-39 64 millimeter EDF. I thought that said some size. It says 50 millimeter and 64 millimeter power. I guess we'll find out what that really means. But this is from Hobby King. Looks like it's 635 millimeter wingspan. The fan is 64 millimeter EDF. I'm so confused. So does that mean it necks down to 50?
I have no idea.
But anyway, 220. So it's a 2220, 4000 kV outrunner. Runs on 2200 4S, which before I forget, we got to get this thing charged just in case. This is a new offering, and I think we actually might have gotten one of these a while back, and we just never really mentioned it because we didn't need that size. Look how small this thing is, 2200 4S. This, of course, is a higher discharge. So what does that mean for C rating? 30C. So 30C, it's got an XT60. And of course, a regular balance lead. So we're gonna charge this right now before we continue the unbox. This did not come with the plane, but it happened to be shipped with ours, okay? So we're gonna charge it with our smart charger. And I know some of you are probably thinking, but that's a Spectrum charger. Who cares, doesn't matter. We charge all our stuff on this battery charger, unless otherwise indicated. Plug it in, then put your balance lead in, and you can see your voltages, just like any other style charger that you've used in the past. I'm going to charge it at 1C because we can, we have time, and we'll start it. Now, this is a 30C pack, so the general rule of thumb is that you may be able to get away with up to 3C is usually my rule of thumb. So if it's 2200, that would be 6600 or 6.6 amps. That would be pretty speedy for a 30C pack, but it is definitely it is a rule of thumb I follow.
And you did yours at 4 amps, which is not 1C. That'd be like almost 2.
No, I did 4.
I was trying to do the math. I was like, wait, try to not do math on camera?
Nope, I just made a mistake, that's all. So 2200, 2.2 amps.
Okay.
Sorry guys, thank you for catching that, camera crew. I was talking about too many math things and trying to work at the same time. All right, so we're gonna get this thing unboxed, but basically this is a limited production run because the factory gave them a special. So whatever that means. I kind of hope that if the special goes well, that they just get some more of them, because we kind of hate to bait things like this, but we're gonna find out. I like the L-39s. We've always had good luck with L-39s. We've never had an L-39 we didn't like. And that includes the one that crashed because of a crappy Banggood receiver.
Well, that was an L-39.
I think it was a Redcon receiver.
Yeah.
So I never used one again after that.
Nope.
So we'll put this here. And by the way, just out of curiosity, guys, if you're wondering, I have had like maybe 4 radio issues the whole time we've been doing this. We have hundreds of models.
Yeah.
And that was one of them. Okay, so low piece count at least you can see. Looks like pretty simple stuff. We've got some tip tanks right here, magnetically attached. Looks pretty straightforward. So we're just gonna work through this, guys. Unbox build radio setup here on Brian Phillips RC. We like to show you exactly how to unbox, build, and radio set up your planes. I like the red actually a lot.
It's kind of a dark red.
Yeah, it's darker. I like that red. Sometimes they come up a little bit cherry red, but I like the way this one looks. These are taped to the side here. So we're gonna see how this unpacks. Now we do intentionally go through the entire process here on Brian Phillips RC because we want to show the entire painstaking process, whether that is, you know, a 3.5 or 4 hour build like that Tundra should have been, you know, 15-minute build, and instead it was hours build, or other particular planes. So
we'll find out, I guess.
Yeah, it just depends. We have been impressed with builds, and we've been pretty underwhelmed by builds from Hobby King, so we'll see. But we've been happy with the plane so far, which is pretty good. This is a really nice looking tail, actually. Yeah. It feels like it's got some strength to it. I like this connection rod. It's not oversized, given that this is a small and slender wing. It doesn't have a ton of throw before you run into itself, which we'll see if that's a problem. Looks like glue reinforced pinch hinge, which is why you don't see glue or you don't see paint down there. Now this looks like it's jigged, but it might just be painted with white and then silver decal. I can't tell.
I know, it's so
might also be jigged. Kind of hard to tell. Okay, now they do include some Velcro down here on this side of the box. So why do we show the entire process start to finish? That's because many people need help in this hobby. And if you're one of them, you might want to click the bell when you subscribe to Brian Phillips RC because you will be notified of new content. Okay, so it looks like it came with 2 pieces of Velcro. I'm not sure why there's 2. And quick start guide. Looks pretty straightforward. Center of gravity is 49 millimeters back. I do like having quick start guides, but for us guys, full disclosure, there are many times we do not have full access to the manual. So if you mention it in the comments, just keep in mind, because we have only mentioned it thousands of times, that we don't always have access to manuals because of the early release status of these particular models. In this case, that's as good as we get. In most cases, that's as good as it gets. Trying to figure out the best way to pull this out. I think the best way is probably gonna be to break down the box this way, because I don't know how else. There, yeah, sometimes they break out, sometimes they don't, these foam blocks. We've had planes that are shipped this way before. Full disclosure, there is a ding in my foam, or not in my foam, but my box, from where the nose slid forward. So it's not impossible that it would have damaged its nose, but it is plastic, so I think we're good. High performance aircraft training, okay? And looks pretty straightforward. We've got a belly lander set up, and as you can see, neck down to 50 millimeter output. We'll just come back to that. Actually, I'm gonna get the rest of the stuff out so we can get this out of the way. Be careful when you pull these off. You don't want to bend the foam. Vertical stabilizer. That is protected by some more foam. Interesting. Never seen them do that before. I don't like when they tape them to the side of the boxes, because I've seen far too many boxes that come with damage. If you're going to tape to something, tape to the structure of the airplane that is supported in the middle of the box, because if somebody dents this box, you're going to break your control surface. So not a fan of that, especially not on limited releases, because that means if you get it and it's damaged, you may not get a replacement. So you get your money back or whatever, but you're not necessarily going to get a replacement. And most of the time, in my experience, I don't want my money back. I wanted the thing I ordered.
Right.
So it's just a protective piece of foam. We can save that and build another
Keep this
airplane.
for, our next house. Perfect.
That's right.
Great.
That'd be great. We can insulate the building. Okay, so we're gonna pull this out. Vertical stabilizer looks good. Looks like we are gonna have to glue that, so we'll get some China glue. There is no rudder.
Right.
I'm not a big fan of planes that don't have rudders, full disclosure. I just want you to understand something, people. I like rudders. This is a plane that's big enough and worthy of a rudder. However, it is a belly lander, so we're gonna still show it in its full true colors. Okay, so we got the wing here. This is not unlike other L-39s we've seen in the past. It seems like about the same size class and same build quality that we've seen in the past. I have no problem with the build quality we've seen in the past, full disclosure, but I just want you guys to understand this may not be unlike what we've seen in the past. It just happens to be a limited run, so they're getting a good deal on them, and that usually means you guys are getting a really good deal, because Hobby King, as you know, is going to tend to give a little bit more economy solution for people. But it used to be that with the economy solution came a project plane, meaning you were gonna have to do a lot to make it good. But anymore, we have been having quite good luck. Starting with, I think, was it the Rare Bear we did first for Hobby King recently?
We did the Yak 11.
Oh yeah, that was really good too.
Yeah, one of our
that actually was an easy build. If I remember right.
That was an H King like this one too,
H-King.
not an Avios. So
yeah, not Avios. And then, yeah, but hold on, what's the Grand Tundra? Is that Avios?
That's Avios.
That's Avios.
Yep.
And guys, we don't care what the brand is. We just, we know who it comes from. We know the mothership. And that's true for all the different models. Hey, look at that. They have a Y cable, so that'll be easy to swap out if we want to go to. We were talking about flaperons. Full disclosure, this plane has ailerons and elevator. So it's bank and yank or yank and bank. Somebody got all mad at me for saying yank and bank, and so I'm going to say it out of order just like 4 or 5 times. Yank and bank.
I've never heard you say yank and bank. Okay, we'll call it that from now on.
Yank and bank.
Perfect. I like yank and bank.
Whoever that was, I hope you're seeing this.
I'm
going to say yank and bank all I want.
More fun.
And yank and bank it. Maybe we can encourage other people to yank and bank it. Anyway, okay, so as you can see, ooh, look, we have an N number. It's super prominently located here. I actually really like the way this looks. I like the shape of it. I like the size. I like that it's just really super scale. And we do have a thrust tube. So, hun, how do you feel about thrust tubes?
That's my favorite. Is that the yanking part?
No, the thrust tube is where the air blows.
Oh.
So, but yeah, this is a nice skid pad. It looks like this is very ugly right here. I'm hoping.
Is that supposed to?
I don't think it's supposed to be that color. I think that's just a discoloration, but I don't know if there's a protective piece on that. I'm kind of hoping there is.
Probably not. Why isn't it like nice and shiny white like this?
I don't know. They must have screwed something up. I'm guessing somebody glued it on backward.
Oh.
But the other thing too is I feel like there's probably a protective cover. I mean, who cares? It's already ugly. Let's try to scratch it. Scratch it.
Oh.
It doesn't matter.
I don't think so. Okay,
well, that's fugly. Whoever did that, fire that guy. Oh wait, it's limited run. Never mind. Don't fire him. He can keep his job. All right, so there we do have what appears to be the elevator. Going back to this, okay, simple. Then we have this, which is the XT60, which is going to go back to, oh look, this is an extension cord that comes from the electronic speed controller, and there is a thrust reverse channel, it looks like.
Oh, yep.
Which is kind of weird that we would have thrust reverse on this. It ain't gonna do us any good because it's a belly lander. Incidentally, there are no landing gear on this, okay? It's designed to belly land.
Right.
And I actually like that because when they tempt us with like fixed gear, I always end up going with wheels up, wheels down, just because I'm kind of a wheels up, wheels down kind of guy. And as a result, I end up sort of undermining these, you know, hand launch type of planes from being what they really should be. And I'm telling you, there are a few planes, this has a little bit of damage on it too. Not well jigged. But you know what? I don't have a problem with that at all.
Are those ambidextrous? Could you flip it over so that's on the bottom of this one?
No, because the shape of the wing.
Okay.
Yeah. So the answer is no, unfortunately. That being said, so far, so good. Pretty basic, simple, not like tons and tons of detail. But I am okay with that if what they do does well. I'm not thinking that's probably going to stay on. My guess is we'll probably have to do a little tape on the front of that so it doesn't blow off.
I think so.
I think it's going to blow off. We'll find out real quick though. That being said, looks gorgeous for being a simple plane. Now, the big question, the big ticket question is how are we going to receiver this up as we think about the way that we're going to build it? Because the way that we're going to build it is going to necessarily dictate how everything goes together on this, which for the record, you do not need a small 2200 that I can tell on this. I think you'd use a bigger one. And secondly, we got to glue this thing together. So we need to get started on that.
Okay.
So the first things first, let's see how this is going to actually physically lay out. So obviously that gets glued there, okay? Should be pretty simple. And then this will be easy enough to pop off. So I'll just leave that attached for now because we will have to do that after a minute. So why don't we get China glue out and we'll just finish our gluing process.
So this is all glue.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And that's part of the reason why I'm guessing this thing is probably a limited run because, you know, a lot of these model manufacturers, by the way, if you want China glue, say you're buying a Spectrum receiver and you want to get it from Horizon, this is the option. China glue, many times where we're getting our China glue is from FMS, and then sometimes we get them in kits or builds that just whatever, we just use it up. I prefer China glue slightly to the foam to foam, but they are almost dollars to donuts, almost exactly the same price. If this stuff's on sale, get it. It works fine, and it does work fine, but I just like that the China glue tacks up better. And we have quite a bit of this, and we have quite a bit of this as well. So we just use it until it's gone.
Whenever we get something, then you just get it with your order.
Just get it. Like if you're ordering Spectrum receivers, get a couple of these. If you're ordering an FMS plane, get a little bit of that. Hobby King, I don't even know if Hobby King is selling this stuff anymore. We can't find it on the website
I don't think they are.
They used to, which is fine because we had problems with it. So we don't like promoting things that we had problems with. And we actually had good luck with it for many years until we didn't. And then we stopped talking about it.
That one's almost gone, isn't it?
Yeah, it's almost gone. It is almost gone, but we'll use up what's here. So guys, China glue, if you didn't already know, is like a contact cement. I am going to put a little bit on the thrust tube there. And the thing that's nice about China glue is it's so easy to work with. You just basically put it on both surfaces or at least one surface And then my suggestion is you let it cook off for a little bit, okay? So you can see it's just kind of slathered on there in kind of an unusual pattern. Oh geez, that thing is like basically rock solid now. So I'm just spreading this out. It doesn't need to be perfect. It's not gonna matter if you think it's perfect because it's just gonna stick together, okay? So you see what I'm doing? I'm just spreading that onto the white portion. And remember, there'll be a vertical stabilizer that goes in there, and I'll just spread that into the top point, meaning the center point of that thrust tube. Okay, so it's easy. This stuff is awesome. It works really easy. It's simple to use. And then tip of the day. So I'm about ready to open this new tube. And this cap is a little bit bigger, but we can still pierce the cap to get this one opened as well. So if you don't want to dirty your new tip, use the old tip you're getting ready to throw away. So go ahead and pierce it with the old lid that's going in the garbage can. And then you've got your new lid opened, okay?
Ooh, that one smells strong.
Does it really?
It does.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. If you guys didn't know this, I had a brain injury a while back. It's not why I'm weird, it's just I was riding a bicycle and crashed. And I lost 5 hours of memory and my sense of smell, which is annoying. Got some of it back, but not all of it. Not most of it, frankly. Whoa, does this whole thing come off? Whoa, it does.
Whoa.
That is kind of nice, but also that means that we need to be careful because you can get down here. Make sure that your outrunner is not going to catch anything. See, that spins the fan. That's a nice fan. Sweet. But it looks like that ESC is kind of pulled back a little bit. Kind of nice if we could pull that forward and just have a little better length.
It's like it's pretty well glued in there.
So we'll make sure we glue here and not necessarily up front when we put this wing in, okay? So this needs to go in to get centered up because you can see this is not quite square. Now you do have to square this, okay? So when you're looking down the length of the plane, make sure that you're even there and you're also even, you know, here, okay? So if you're in any doubt, get out a measuring tape, get out a string, pull the string to a fixed point, and then hold that same fixed point from the string. It's super easy. It doesn't matter what the length is, just use a string so you can hold it tight. Like fishing line, something that's rigid, not a piece of cotton that's gonna stretch, okay? All right, so then this needs to go down in here, which means we need to glue the parts that are not actually painted. Squeezing from the back of the tube. Again, this did not come with the model. Good Lord. Talk about false advertising.
No kidding.
Look at that. What the heck? Is there like no glue in there? No, there is. Just not as much as I would have thought.
No kidding.
That's ridiculous, guys. That's why you don't trust China. You know, you get 17 squeezes out of it.
Yeah, it's like 1 milliliter in a 10 milliliter tube.
Yeah, exactly. That being said, that was just one that came with, I don't even remember what model that came with.
It was like a little random ready to fly something or other.
Q-tip. Okay, so I'm gonna take this Q-tip and just spread this glue along the face and the edge. And then I'm gonna run this along this edge. Now, you see how I pulled up some of that extra? Because I'm just gonna let that cook off carefully so it doesn't fall off on the ground. And then I'm gonna just take this and just run a little bit down into this groove. And then just a little bit on either side and a tiny bit on top of that. And we're gonna let that cook off for just a minute, okay? Now, we have to glue the main wing on, but we'll have to pass the lead through so that we can hook up the ailerons. But just keeping in mind that the aileron leads are actually pretty long. I'm hoping we can pass that through. Maybe we will split these out. And look at that, they put carbon fiber on the trailing edge of the ailerons to stiffen the aileron itself, which is an interesting way of doing it. And of course, pinch hinge and pinch hinge. So if you guys are looking for like the highest quality airplane, this is not gonna be it. It's gonna be a lower quality, kind of like entry level, hand toss, bank and yank, or yank and bank, depending on who you are, aircraft. Now, I'm not trying to beat anybody up that has that that they're on the market for a bank and yank plane that's on this like more economy level, because truth is, like, this is the type of plane that would have been great for a beginner, if you beginners flew this type of plane, which I would not necessarily recommend flying this type. I had to really work to get that in there. So now I'm pushing this down, squishing it right to where it needs to go. And then remember, you have to more or less get this where it needs to be for squareness. And that is not bad.
That looks pretty good.
Technically you could glue this back, but you know, I'm gonna defer to just leaving a gap there because there is a gap, and I don't know that it's gonna help anything to pull that down.
Okay.
You see what I'm talking about right there, guys? That gap? Whatever, I guess. And yes, you can still get to the EDF module still. So you just wanna make sure that sets up nicely. Okay, now, because we have to actually flip this over, be nice if we didn't have to, but we're probably gonna have to use a plane stand.
Right, with the glue, fresh glue.
Yeah, because everything is glued together, okay? So now, if you guys are brand new to Brian Phillips RC, this is the way we do all our planes. We build them live and in person. We show you the entire process, start to finish, so that there's not a ton of ambiguity as to what it's gonna take to do it, okay? We try our best to give you guys no BS experience here. Look at that, they align the inside of this with that, so it makes it stronger. Yeah, it actually worked pretty good. Okay, so I'll flip this.
Hold on, your servo lead is right under there.
Okay. Yeah, it'll ding your foam. So this is just gonna go in like this, super easy. I just wanna dry fit this before I put on any glue, and then maybe we'll use foam to foam since we only got like one squeeze out of that tube. That was crazy. Okay, so drop this down. Okay, looks like it'll be a pretty simple, basic fit. Nothing wrong with that. But it is basic, guys. I don't know if I want to set up flaperons on this plane, but I might set up spoilerons on it, depending on what receiver we use. But remember, we've only got thrust, we've got elevator, we've got aileron 1, aileron 2. Right?
Yeah, because you're not going to set up thrust reverse, are you?
Yeah, but just think about it. There is no rudder. So it's elevator, aileron 1, aileron 2, thrust. Throttle.
Yeah.
So you could actually use an AR-410, but I would really like to have stabilization. So maybe we'll do a 630 anyway. Gosh, I hate to put a 630 on it.
Yeah, but you want safe or you want AS3X.
I'm less concerned about safe, and I definitely want AS3X.
Yeah.
So, okay, guys, see what I did there? I just flipped that upside down.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll see if I have enough to be able to, I mean, that's like crazy. We just opened that like 30 seconds ago. Yeah, it's really raining, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so let's see how this goes. I'm gonna put it on the parts that I know for certain there's gonna be insertion, okay? I'm gonna put it on both surfaces, both the inside and the outside. So the penetratee and the penetrator, okay?
Okay.
And just a little bit of glue there. And I mean, I'm like literally gonna use this whole tube on this one plane. That is so ridiculous.
It's like half of the plane.
Yeah. Okay. So as you guys can see, the other thing is this stuff is really yellow. So I'm kind of glad we didn't use it in a super critical application, because the stuff we get like from FMS is usually clear. It's actually pretty good and clear.
I'm just glad we weren't saving it to think like, oh, we'll do some whole big project with that one.
Yeah, right,
too.
exactly, because it wouldn't have lasted. That is incredible. So we got like 2 squeezes out of that. What a joke. Okay, so we'll spread that out. Now, admittedly, that's like the quickest we've ever gone through a thing of glue. Okay, so I'm gonna spread this out just a little bit. I wanna get that into the sides of those knobs and just get this stuff up into the corners and the edges, and then kind of the same thing here. Remember, this does have a little bit of dimension to it, so it will make up a little bit of thickness. So don't get too aggressive with like the amount of glue you're putting in, because it is possible that you would put enough that it would actually make it dimensionally too tall to get a nice clean fit. Okay, so if that makes sense, if you don't understand what I'm saying, the glue has got a certain thickness to it. If you put too much on, you won't be able to make this squeeze all the way into the position that you want to squeeze it into, okay? All right, now, if you were to mix two types of glue, I'll just warn you right now, they may set up at slightly different rates. It shouldn't cause a huge problem, but it could cause some issues. So I'm gonna do it.
Okay, I was gonna ask that, but I wasn't sure if that was.
Okay, so this is the foam to foam. So this stuff doesn't seem to set up real bad. But you'll notice the one thing, it's got that waxy film to it. Mm-hmm. It is a little bit easier to use because you can squeeze it out of the tube a little easier. It is definitely crystal clear, okay? You'll notice also that I'm not going crazy trying to use, I'm pretty liberal with the amount of glue I put on there,
Yeah.
okay? Because I do want to make contact, bridge contact. But you see how that stuff has that skin on it? That's one of the things about this stuff that I'm not as crazy about is it just tends not to be quite as tacky, okay? And you know, you're watching Brian Phillips RC, so you obviously all enjoy tacky,
Right.
right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
That's why I'm here.
Yes, I knew that already. Okay, so I'm gonna pick up some of this and I'm gonna slather it on the other side. And you're probably thinking to yourself, but that seems like you did so much more of the foam to foam. Yep, I did. That's because the China glue tends to be a little bit more sticky in our experience. Now this stuff will work fine. It's just you need a little bit more of it in our experience. And it's harder to tell when you spread it out where it is because it gets that weird like dull matte finish to it. And since it's clear, it's kind of hard to see. But you see, I'm just getting that whole area. And make no mistake, when you glue a wing on, you do want to make sure that it's glued on because it's a wing. Okay, and I have a sneaky suspicion it'll be a fun plane, but it's also not going to be probably the highest performance plane we've ever done in our lives.
Right.
That being said, you know, some of the planes that you just put together and you just kind of toss around and have a good old time, they end up being some of your favorites. Or not. It just depends on your taste. But in my experience, I have an appreciation for different levels of planes. That's why we do all sorts of planes here on Brian Phillips RC. And while we let this set up, this is what we call cooking off. So you want to let this kind of work in the environment. And it's weird. You see how we put that clear foam to foam on there? And now it's like got that dull matte finish.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
I don't know if they can pick that up on camera.
I don't know if you can or not because it looks shiny.
Yeah.
On camera. Mm-hmm. That is weird.
But what you want to do is you want to let that cook off to the point where it's like tacky. Looks like a spider web, okay? And then you can take and you can see the spider web, okay? And then this is why I like this stuff. You can just roll it up into a booger, just like it was rubber cement when you were in school. If you're old enough to have used rubber cement in school. This is probably getting close. You could also let it cook off for a little while longer, but I don't want to let it cook off so much that I can't get a second shot if I don't do it perfectly straight. So I'm going to pull these wires so that they're square. And I'm just going to be super careful the way I drop this down because I may only get one shot at it because I've let that China glue cook off for some time now. Okay, so if it doesn't sit down all the way, you may also have the wires in a bad spot. So try to work kind of quick. You may have to pull it apart, okay? See, and then this protective thing doesn't even continue to here. So just a few design flaws. But you know what? I'm thinking it's probably just a fun little get it together, get some exposure to the air, enjoy it, and have a good old time. These limited runs don't happen very often. Part of the reason, and this is something that Megan and I were concerned about, the camera crew and I. You know, we do these unbox build radio setups that are evergreen. They just keep being available forever, you know? And we were debating about whether or not we did an unbox build radio setup on this particular aircraft. And for the only reason is we were concerned that we would have people that would come to us to learn how to build this particular plane. Well, here's the thing. There's a lot of bank and yank planes in this size class, and you can copy along this setup. And that's part of the reason why I'm debating about even, you know, if we do a 630, I'm for sure gonna put on flaperons.
Right.
Right? Because I wanna teach people how to do it. Now, does that mean flaperons are gonna be necessary? No, not really. And does that mean that flaperons are gonna work better than spoilerons? No, I'm probably gonna set up spoilerons and that will work on this plane because I found on L-39s, if you do flaperons Sometimes you can get away with it. Depends on how effective your elevator is. This elevator looks really big. Look how huge it is.
Yeah.
It's bigger than the actual horizontal stabilizer. And then I like the way this plane looks. It's awesome looking. It's gonna disappear a little bit with that white, I wonder. But we got the wingtip tanks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the way L-39s look. They've always been one of my favorite models. And nothing wrong with that. So the next question is, do we do a 630 or do we do something different? And I think the answer to that question is we could probably do either one, hon.
Either one, what?
410 or 630.
Except we're not going to do it without stabilization.
Yeah, I think we're going to do stabilization.
So
we're stuck with 630
or 631, whatever.
Okay, so we'll pause and get that. Okay, so we got the 630 out, but I just realized this thing is done. 942 milliamps forced into this pack, which is kind of nice. So that means it was at storage level. They say at like 30%, stored at or shipped at 30%. And so what that means is that they do want you to charge them to get them up to a storage level at least. But I just usually charge them to use them.
Right.
Okay. So that's the battery there. That's the short battery. And let's compare that to a more standard battery. Let's show them a smart pack. Oh wait, how about we do this? We'll do a China Hobby line, so it's not a smart pack, so we don't have the extra length on there. This is a 4S30C. Look at the difference in size, guys.
That's crazy.
That is incredible. That's a lot smaller.
Yeah, it is.
And then you put that up against like a Spectrum pack that has a smart charge circuitry in it, which is up here on this. And this is slender, so it takes up just a different dimension.
Yep.
See that? So that's really nice. I mean, if it actually does what it says. I've always questioned that. So probably what we'll do is we're not going to fly with 3 packs more than likely.
No, probably not.
For the video, but we will show it with that product.
Yeah.
Now, just so you guys know, my predisposition is to go with a 2200 4S, if that's what they call out. These are almost always good on 4S.
Yeah.
There's been a few manufacturers, and I'm thinking of like Arrows, for instance. They had a 64. Well, did they have an L-39?
No, it was a 50 though.
Yeah, it was actually a 50. This is a 64 millimeter. That's a pretty big EDF in there. Okay, so I'm excited to see if it performs. But my issue with that was, gosh, where was I going?
They're always 3S.
They're always 3S. And
they're,
I'm like, yeah, that's lame. So I'm like, whatever, let's put a 4S in there and see how it does. Oh, that's right. The Arrows one came with the stickers. And it was right like when Russia and Ukraine war started.
Exactly,
and I was like, I don't want to get in the middle of this battle. Because they had like a Ukraine sticker. And I was like, I don't want to be associated with this junk. So, but yeah, you remember that one?
Yeah,
Was
I
it
do.
black? And then
It's dark blue, I think.
Dark blue, yeah.
I think it's dark blue.
But I really like that plane. It flew really nice. But again, it's kind of like, you know, how hard is it to put a servo in for a rudder? It's just beyond me. Okay, right. So 630, again, 630, pretty expensive for this plane, admittedly, and I understand that it's not like being lost on me here, but we are gonna go with the 630 anyway. Okay, so the 630 is one of my favorite simple receivers, but I don't use 630s hardly ever in planes, and here's why. Because for like $5 more, you get an antenna.
Yep.
And Spectrum claims that they're just as good without, and I'm kind of like, yeah, I'll believe it when I see my plane not crashing. That's got an internal antenna, but this is such a small, like short range type of application.
Right.
That I just don't think it's gonna be a big issue. And yes, you see me pulling a staple out of this. Do you wanna explain to the people why I'm doing this?
Because Brian is a hoarder and we have to keep every piece of plastic that's ever come into our house.
Do you wanna know how many amazing RC products I made out of this clear plastic?
Like 400. You wanna know how many of those we have? 4,000.
Maybe 4,000. I don't know. It's probably more like 3,996.
Okay, check back in 2 weeks and then we'll...
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so also you'll notice every time I pick this up, I'm pressing it in again, because as that last little bit of cook-off happens in the glue, we want to just close it up.
Right.
Okay. And that'll be fine after 3 or 4 times. It shouldn't need it anymore. I'm actually fully confident that that wing will stay. I could also just pull that off, like straight up, just separate the two. If I was unsure and just let it dry for a little longer and then put it back together, it will not come apart then. And I have no qualms with the vertical stabilizer or the horizontal stabilizer. I think we're going to be good. Now, let's talk about reach and why I like the 630. Well, the 630 is an end pin. So the 631 is a top pin. So even though the body of this is a little bit longer, the 630 stops about there and they go vertical. It makes a big difference. Also, when you're looking at this S plus minus, signals on the top, minuses on the bottom, okay? And this has a bind button, so you can use a bind plug if you need to, but we almost never need to, okay? So a couple things to think about. If I can make this reach, I can eliminate this cable, keep that for some other project, and I can eliminate this cable, and then I can have this back there, which is ideal, okay? Same thing with this, and then the battery has all this room up front. So this is gonna be a nice spot to put it is back here if I can make everything reach. So forceps to the rescue, right?
Yeah, probably.
That being said, we will have enough channels to do thrust reverse, but it's gonna be a complete waste of time because I never use thrust reverse on a belly lander. But one of the thoughts I had with doing this video, we were talking about whether or not we do an unbox build radio setup on a simple, super simple plane like this. And my answer to the camera crew was, yeah, we do, because we can point people to this video for other more complicated planes that have a similar aircraft type.
Right.
Now, the other big question I have is, do we put this on the NX10? Because we're like kind of out of model memory.
Oh, I forgot about that.
So we might have to figure out what we're gonna do on that. We have about 350 models in here, but we figured out the golden loophole with Spectrum Airwear is once it gets to 250 on its own count, then it stops letting you add more. But we had like 60 some odd before that, and then like 40 before that, and so on and so forth from the NX6, then the NX8, then the next NX8, and then into this NX10. So those one didn't go against the count for some reason.
Right.
But then the ones that we have actually done in the NX10 have started to use up those subsequent values, okay? So here we are.
I know
I'll teach you guys how to do these setups. And so for that reason, we're gonna go ahead and use the AR630, okay, right?
Yeah.
So how do you wanna start with this, camera crew?
Well, I know there's another one in there that can be.
Okay, we'll take a second and we'll get it out of here. Okay, so we found a model 207, which you guys will never know what it was because it was such a terrible model. We never published a video.
Nope.
It was so bad. Holy cow.
Rarely.
It ended up
happens.
in the garbage immediately. And we were like, yeah, we're not gonna do that to you. So selecting this model 207. So I'm gonna go into model type and just change it to this, which will reset the data. Okay, which I already did, but I'll do it again. And model name, so it's 207. So now this is what, 250?
254.
254, which is not even the correct number, but it'll at least keep it symmetrical. And we resorted it to the bottom of the list so it's easy to find. So this is gonna be the L-39. So it's gonna be the H-King L-39. Okay, so we'll type that in and come back. Okay, so we've got the H-King L-39, 64 millimeters. So we'll hit back, aircraft type. So we've got a normal wing type, except we could do flaperons, which we can also call out a spoiler in operation within the flap menu, or you could set this as dual aileron, or if you don't want to do that, you just do a normal wing, okay? But I'm going to do flaperons, and then the tail is normal, even though there's no rudder, okay? And I'm going to select an image, probably going to be the Habu, or that. That's good enough. So we're going to set switch D for flight modes. Then we'll go to spoken flight mode and what goes on the screen. So flight mode name, highlight, cancel, cancel. This is going to be AS3X, so artificial stabilization 3-axis. And by the way, the reason we're doing this, guys, just to remind you, is that you can apply this to other similar types of bank and yank planes. They're not always jets, but they usually are. AS3X. Okay. And that'll be AS3X Plus for what it's worth. And then we'll scroll down to it. It's way down here. Okay, so then we got AS3X. And then we're going to set this one to off. And And again, this is just a middle setting where we've got a 3-position switch, and it's kind of nice to have the ability to show you what it might look like if we didn't have it on. But again, you might not ever actually go through the trouble of setting up an off setting. The only time the off setting is really helpful is when you get into a circumstance like a sailplane. Did I miss?
Yeah, you passed it. There you go.
Okay, and then this one's going to be safe sensor assisted flight envelope. So that is going to be your auto leveling and limited bank angles, depending on how you set it up. And of course, this is going to be, for most people, it's going to be for beginners, but you can actually use it as an experienced pilot for hand launching, and you can also do hand launch assist, which, you know, I prefer to have assistance on hand launch whenever I can get it. So we'll scroll down to the audio event. Okay, so then safe mode. All right, so we've got safe, off, and AS3X. So it'll call out, and it'll also display that on the screen, which is kind of nice. Channel assigns, frankly, I'm not 100% sure. We're obviously not going to be using gear, so we don't need to associate that to gear. I definitely don't want to do this because we have a right aileron and a left aileron, okay? And aux 7, it's not pluggable, doesn't really matter. Right, rotary knob is on aux 8 by default. And then we'll just do aux 9 to switch G. We'll see if we can plug it in for thrust reverse just to show you if it works. But now that means that aux 9 will be G.
Okay, 9.
And then aux 8 will be rotary knob. Okay.
Okay.
And then we got to do, let's do aux 7. Let's do aux 7 as flight mode. Okay. You can do flight mode or you could do switch D. And if you guys aren't picking up what I'm laying down, you can always exercise the switch in these menus when you have them highlighted, or you can usually. So F mode's all the way to the left and then back one, okay? So what that means is later when we set up the forward programming, we'll have to call out the control channel to navigate between AS3X safe and off, okay? All right, so then the first thing I want to do is do rates and expo. This is going to be super simple. And you probably think, whoops, switch F. So we'll do 5%, then 10%, and then 20%. And there is going to be one weird mix on this plane because of the nature of it being a banking yank, okay? And we'll get to that here in a little bit. Okay, so we start out in the middle here with 10% expo. We've got less, that'd be our high rates or more sensitive stick. We've got the neutral kind of like starting point, and then we've got about doubling and a little bit less rates. So that's the more deadened stick if it's too touchy, okay? And then we do that. I like to use the same switch for all 3 control channels. And you're probably thinking, but Brian, you're only gonna be using 2 of them because this is a banking yank. You've got elevator and ailerons, excuse me. That needs to be 20. And drop the rates down. And you would be incorrect. And here's why. I'm doing this video so that people can follow along for other similar planes, okay? So if you were doing a plane that included a rudder, you would just do this as well. You're probably thinking, so you do the exact same setup on all 3 channels? Yep. That's right. And I almost never have to adjust it. Almost never, okay? Then we could set up differential, but I'm not going to set up differential because I don't have to. Differential is basically where one aileron goes up while the other one doesn't go down quite as far, or vice versa, depending on if you do a negative differential. Negative differential would be one aileron goes down while the other one goes up less, okay? Which you're going to get some of that just because of the flaperons and spoilerons. But we'll talk about that when we get to that point. And also as a digital switch setup, I want to set up switch G. I already know what it's going to be for thrust reverse. This is going to be negative 100. This one's going to be plus 100 and plus 100. So we'll just set that up. Now, how do I know that? Because I've done it so many times. I just happen to know. That's always the way it works. So we'll just set it up right now. We prefer to actually challenge why that is. But in this case, this is a simple plane. We're probably not going to need thrust reverse, but we're just showing you how you might set it up. I might not even be able to reach the plug, right, but we're still going to set up switch G on whatever that auxiliary channel is. Oh, that's not pluggable. We need to set that to a different channel because it needs to be pluggable. We'll use channel A for retracts.
Yeah, 5.
Yep, okay. So, give me a second. We'll do that right now. Good catch, me. System setup. Should have caught it earlier. Channel assign. Okay, so gear is not being used, channel 5. So we'll just set that to switch G. And then we'll just disassociate this by inhibiting auxiliary 9, okay? So now gear is going to act as our thrust reverse, okay? All right, so back out to the main menu. We're going to also set up a timer. Oh, a throttle cut. Let's set that up on switch H. And then looking down here, you're probably like, why is it on aux? I don't know. It's so annoying. Okay, look, the throttle's not working, which is what we want. Throttle cut's off. Now it's going where it needs to go, up and down. Okay, throttle cut's on. Now we need to set up a timer. Let's do a timer at 5 minutes, 1 out, active, means anything over 25%. Starts the timer at 1 minute. We want a voice call out at 20 seconds, nothing. 10 seconds, I want a voice countdown and tone and vibrated expiration with the tone every minute thereafter. That being said, we'll be able to see that on the screen in addition to the mode, AS3X, off, or safe. Now, that does not have to be set up. You can leave that labeling out. We will still do forward programming to associate switch D, or in our case, flight modes, so that we can control AS3X and safe. But remember, this is just a label, as is the chick talking. That's just a label, okay? We don't even know if the control surfaces are going the right direction yet. Doesn't matter because we need to install the receiver. But guess what? Now I can scroll over one click and I can see right where I need to plug everything in. There's our thrust reverse, so that's on gear, so channel 5. Obviously throttle's on channel 1. We've got rudder, doesn't exist. Ailerons, move both of those. We don't know which direction which is going to go. Doesn't really matter yet. But check this out. Remember I said we have one special mix? Aileron to rudder. Okay? Aileron to rudder. Why do we care? Because this is bank and yank. We don't have a rudder. Right?
Right.
So you want rudder to aileron. Rudder to aileron? Look at that. It's already in there. So I can turn that on, and then I can go up here and I can say, when I move the stick for ailerons, excuse me, when I move this, I want to be able to fly it. Why? Because then when I hand launch the plane, I can throw it and then still keep my hands on the stick as though I'm controlling the rudder. Okay? So I just turn this up. You know, sometimes I do full, sometimes I do half. But just remember, you can command more authority if you have 2 sticks, because you can move both sticks. You see what's happening there? So you see that's going to move all the sticks. It's going to move all the channels simultaneously. Or you can move this, and that's going to move like normal. Or if you moved one and then the other, you would move all of it. See how it's at 150 and 150 and then 100? Okay, you're gonna max out the throws. That's why you might mix that to a little bit less, but it doesn't really matter, okay? Because you have to go out of your way to do that.
Right.
Okay, so that makes it super easy. Now, if you're using a less spectacular radio system and you want to set something super simple, it'd be normal, and it would be aileron to rudder, and then you would set up your percentages here, okay? But I'm going to reset that because I already have it set, okay? Now you can also tie that to a switch, so like if you wanted to have that so it can be turned on and turned off, that's fine, but just keeping in mind, we're going to have, in fact, why don't we do that? Switch C. I want it on there and there, actually there, and then off there and off there, okay? So now, when I'm on that setting, see how it's on all 3? So I'm going to make this. That's kind of weird. Did you notice what happened?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to walk out. I'm going to go back in. Oh, I know what it is. I'll show you what I need to do. So I'll set this to 100, and I'll set this to 100 just like before. I know what I did wrong. Off. What the heck? What am I doing wrong here? Maybe it's just not.
Because usually like graze them out when
Yeah.
they're off.
That's so weird. Yeah, you can usually unselect it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to turn this to inhibit, and then I'm going to switch to switch C. That is so weird. Why is it not letting me do that? Okay, so watch this. I'm turning that off now. And I'm going to go back. That is so weird. What the heck is that all about?
Yeah,
I've never seen that before. So I don't know if it's a bug or what. But I think it's going to stay on, because if you look right here, the rudder moves it. Nope, it works. See?
Yeah.
See?
Okay.
That is working.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't gray them out.
That's weird.
That is bizarre. But it's working, so that's good. So if you guys didn't connect what I was doing, I'll do it on a bigger monitor here for you. Okay, so when I move the rudder, it moves the ailerons too. Now, why are the ailerons going the same direction? It doesn't really matter. We don't know how they're going to output anyway. So we'll have to flip one of them more than likely. Okay? So when that C position is up, then it works. Then when I turn it off, then it's just the rudder. Rudder's not hooked to anything, so it doesn't matter. Okay? Same thing here. Off, off. Now it's on. Okay? Pretty good? All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to clear the timer. We're going to go back to monitor. We're going to throttle cut, and then we're going to start mounting all the cables. Now, we have to mount the cables, and then we have to mount the receiver. I'm a little bit tempted. We almost never do this, hon.
What?
We have this Velcro in here.
I know they gave us 2 pieces.
I think what we should do is mount a receiver with Velcro.
Okay.
We don't do that often just because, you know, my grandpa used to always do that.
Yeah.
And mostly because he was used to pulling out receivers and moving them from plane to plane. Well, I kind of like the idea of using it in this because it's pretty perfect for the size of this receiver, for one thing.
Yep.
But the only problem is you may get an imperfect mount, okay? And if you have an imperfect mount, then you may have a little bit of a disparity on your exact position. I don't think it's gonna be big enough to matter. But the thing that's kind of cool about this is it's super simple and easy, okay? And then I can pull this thing out if I want, okay? So rather than gluing this down, which we oftentimes do, we're gonna actually just stick it down. Now we need to get forceps so we can plug in our wires. Camera crew, can you show the people what we're gonna be doing for where we're gonna be plugging?
Yeah, so you're gonna try, where are you actually putting it though?
Back there.
Here on the side?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, right there.
This is a small hole to get into.
It's manageable. I mean,
well, for me to see.
If you have, is it ever big?
Oh, no, but sometimes it's bigger.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Okay, camera crew, if you wouldn't mind, surgeon assistant. Okay, so this is our electronic speed control. So I'm gonna hold back here, clamp on good, and then pull that out, okay? So now we know that the electronic speed control, the signal is going up, vertical up.
It's gonna be so tight.
Yeah, I know, that's what she said, literally. So signal's up, and that's obviously on channel 1 in this case. So channel 1 is actually the second port over. I knew it was gonna be tight, there's no doubt about it, so I gotta unplug my ailerons at some point. But I'm gonna go ahead and try to do this first. And then we gotta try to get this thrust reverse in too. This is gonna suck. Maybe that's why they had an extension cord on there.
Maybe so.
Guys, sometimes we make things harder on ourselves and we know it, so leave it in the comments below if you enjoy watching us frustrate ourselves. I'm sure some of you do. Others complain about it like, Why don't you just take the easy way out? Well, because we want to help people that are going to do it the right way.
Or like
the cool way.
Read the manual. We don't have one.
We don't have a manual.
Still, we didn't get one in the last 54 minutes.
Yeah, that is true. We didn't. I'm going to clamp onto this again. It is difficult to tell if I'm making purchase with the pin, so I'm going to put it from a different angle. Oh yeah, I got it that time. Grab the back. And I'm going to admit to you right now, it is hard to see this. And I am sorry about that. So channel 5 is going to get this. That yellow wire needs to be up to the top because it's the signal wire.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm holding this at the back of the connector. Okay. And I'm just going to hopefully get this plugged into the hole. Folks, I'm not joking. It is like really tight. Tighter than average. And that is what you get on limited runs, I guess, evidently.
Well, I mean, we did take the extension out.
Yeah, but not for the
not for that.
This. Okay, so that's plugged in. So now I got to also figure out how I'm going to get this battery lead out of the way so that I can still be able to manipulate the battery lead at least a little bit.
Okay.
And I'm not sure how this is all going to work, but I want to definitely get this in a different orientation. There we go. So up on top should be no problem then. And all right, so we have an aileron 1 and aileron 2. Okay. Aileron 1, aileron 2, and elevator. Elevator, we got tons of room to work with, so we're not even going to worry about that just quite yet. As you can see here, right aileron is on channel 2. So how do we know which one's right? You know, we don't know.
Would it be worth servo checking it so we don't have to unplug and replug into the receiver?
Yeah. Yeah, it would be. So we're going to use the XBC battery checker, and I'm just going to grab any rando battery right now and plug it in to the battery checker or the XBC checker. And signal is negative is away from us. Okay. I'm going to click this. I'm going to go down to servo test. Double click. You can see it sweeping. Now, whichever one I disconnect is the one we need. Okay. So guys, taking the Y cable, you want to go up high, please? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I just unplugged one, and that is what I would consider the right side. Okay, so I'm going to take the right side. Now I've got the negative going up. I need to flip that around. Now I have signal going up, and I'm going to go to channel 2, if I can get it into port 2, rather. Okay, so that's plugged in, but it popped right back out because I didn't quite get good purchase. Folks, I'm going to just admit that this is a real pain in the neck doing this with these short cables, but it's going to be really easy for cable management.
Yep.
Okay, so now I'm just going to snap that back to the center. That is clearly the left one. So hanging on to it, just pulling out the end of the cable. Now we are up an extension cord.
Oh, good.
And a Y cable.
Man, I was getting so worried.
I knew you were. I knew you were. Camera crew's always worried about running out of extension cords, guys. Okay, so look at this. I want to get this wire to go under, because that one needs to go way over to the last port, I think port 6.
Yes.
How do we know that?
Over here, 6, left aileron.
Can you not do that in a way that blocks my view? Because I'm trying to see inside of here, hon. Ah, this is awkward. I do want them to be able to see the awkwardness. But again, this is awkward because we're choosing to do awkward things. It's my fault this time. Going all the way to channel 6, you say?
Yes.
Okay, so I need that to go all the way over to the other side. And of course, the black is coming up on the top. Okay, second forceps time. Now we're going full surgical, okay? So we have the bent tip, which is what you use all the time, and then the straight tip, which you almost never use. Go in here, spin it, grab it, go back in, pull the forceps off. Dang it, almost lost it. Just imagine if I was a surgeon trying to do surgery on some poor schlub, how pissed off they'd be. They'd probably want their money back.
They'd be asleep, they wouldn't know.
They wouldn't know any better?
No.
Okay. Sweet.
Somewhat.
Leave it in the comments if you want me to do your surgeries, people.
Don't leave your cell phone in there.
Okay, look at that. Beautiful. Okay, we got that in there. Now I'm going to take and just, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
So we get the white going up, white going up, white going up. Now we need to put in the rudder. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, and then 4.
No,
oh,
elevator.
Elevator, so
3.
3. Okay, so this and this, that's a lot of cable management. It's quite literally cable management.
Yeah.
All right, so how am I going to do this anyway? Am I going to go around like yonder? You know what would make this easier?
What? Shove it to the back?
Yeah, if that cable would have come out the other way, would have
Yeah.
made it a lot easier. Okay, so real quick, I'm just going to take this now. See what I'm talking about, guys? That's what I've been doing this whole time. Once you clamp it on, it hangs on pretty good, but it is hard on connectors because you can actually break these connectors with forceps. Okay, so channel 3. Going into channel 3. Then let go. Oh, I didn't get it. Okay, so we're going to try this again. So folks, welcome to Brian Phillips RC. If you need help in your RC experience, you're in the right place. We're gonna refuse to leave you high and dry. Okay? We don't do that to people. We're gonna teach you everything we can teach you so that you can have the best RC experience possible. Okay? If you enjoy what you see, smash the like button. Remember, you're not voting for a plane, you're voting for video content. At least that's the way YouTube sees it, so really your opinion is, you know, very relevant as it pertains to and what you think of our video, but not necessarily whether or not you think it's about the product. A lot of times we're reviewing products. Please don't vote for the product, vote for the video, okay? We've noticed that occasionally when we do some like terrible product, people thumb down the video. It's partially because like, you know, it was terrible, but then partially I think people think they're voting for the product. It's like, no, you're voting for us, people. Don't punish us because we tell the truth about a garbage product. Okay, you see that black, how it goes down now? See how nice that looks? Look at that.
Yeah.
Out of the way. Cable management 101.
Worked really nice, actually.
Make extremely short cables. And then I'm gonna hold these wires with my fingers and I'm gonna slowly and carefully walk this cable back into the hole. In the hole, in the hole, in the hole. You guys see what's up? In the hole. More in the hole. It's in the hole. Okay? Beautiful.
Nice.
Guys, cable management does not get easier than that.
That's pretty good.
Give them a good shot. Like a really good shot. Way in there. See?
Yeah,
Looks
looks
good,
nice.
doesn't it?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, all right. So now the next thing on the agenda is to figure out, see what I'm talking about? Like you wouldn't need to have such a small battery, but it's nice that we have a small battery, okay?
Gives you a little bit of wiggle room if you need it.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yep, exactly. But you can also put this battery sideways or you can put it vertical, but then this thing just sits right up on top. Okay, now, this is the way some people are gonna do their batteries. I don't do my batteries this way, but I do show shelf liner. Now, this plane doesn't have a ton of extra space in it, okay, for height.
Right.
So as a
True.
result, we also don't have a strap that goes around it. So shelf liner does not necessarily always work in this application.
Oh.
Yeah, they did not provide anything to actually hold it in place beyond Velcro. Now, there are tricks that we can do that will hold a battery, okay? It could be as simple as putting a piece of tape around here, and no, I'm not talking about like a thin piece of tape. I'm talking about practically a pretty thick piece of tape. And on something like this, we would probably err on the side of like a duck style, like thicker, strong type of tape. So let's do that. We'll show you this method.
If you had an extra battery strap, could you put it like under your Velcro so that it wouldn't slide then?
Yes, and that's what I was gonna suggest, But then I'm like, yeah, but then people are gonna, people are buying this plane. I want to be able to do it. Okay, so look at this, okay? So all I'm doing is just gonna run this tape all the way around so that it lines up nicely. And then I'm just gonna go around and then I'm gonna stop. And I'm gonna come back the other direction. Okay. Now this is critical that you get the sticky part totally covered, or this process doesn't work worth a darn. Okay. So now that that's done, okay, so we're gonna take and make my tail, and then this thing will slide on and off the battery. And you can do this a number of different ways, but my suggestion is when you do these things, you know what, we're just gonna put it all the way around, okay? And then if you do it right, you can slip the battery out relatively easy. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, but yeah, right, like that thing's gonna puff a little bit, Brian, and you're not gonna be able to get your battery back in there. Yeah, I know. And that is one of the reasons why this method doesn't work great. So you may need to go a little bit slack, and so that's what you use this for. So if you get lucky and it's slacked enough that you feel like you're gonna be able to get it on and off of there, then you can go with it. But in our case, I feel like, yeah, admittedly, I got that a little too tight, okay? So then what are we gonna use that for? That's gonna be our shim, okay? So now that that shims, we can do the exact same process one more time, okay? And the other thing we can do is we can attach Velcro to this now, okay? So this Velcro is a little bit too long for what we're doing. So I'm going to get into my bag of goodies and I'm just gonna make sure we don't have some amazing solution, okay? Now, there is another trick we like to do, and that is to cutting a piece of foam that fits this opening and we cut a hole out of it and we stuff that in there.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I usually do. It works really sharp, actually. So, the other thing you could do is you could just whip out of your bag of goodies a strap from another project that didn't need the strap, or they gave you extras. And we always seem to have like 1 or 2 extras of these things. Okay, so it's a little bit tempting to throw something in there that would be like this, and it would do the same thing, okay? For the sake of the fact that like you guys don't have access to this, I don't know that it's really super fair for me to assume you're gonna do this, okay? So for that reason, I am not gonna show that. I'm gonna show the more harder way, which is gonna be getting a pair of Velcro pieces that work together. So give me a second to find that and I'll come back. All right, so you guys see this? I got this out of my bag of tricks. One side of it is going to be stuck down to my tape, okay? And then the other side is gonna be stuck down inside of the plane, okay? Now, it doesn't really matter which side's which, and it doesn't really matter exactly how you apply this, but just keep in mind your center of gravity does kind of need to be worked out for this. So I'm gonna lay this in with that sticky side up, and we're gonna check the CG right now, okay? Now you're probably thinking, what about shelf liner, Brian? Shelf liner only works if you can hold the battery down, because you need to have friction holding it in for the shelf liner to work, and that's why we're not using shelf liner.
Yep.
And yes, I brought this out to just show you we use shelf liner all the time, but in these circumstances, it just doesn't work, okay? Now, center of gravity needs to be measured and marked if you want the best results, in my opinion, okay? So I'm gonna get, do you want me to use a red marker?
I don't know, red or black.
Red or black? Oh,
Well, I mean,
well, whatever, we'll do red.
Red's
since
fine.
I've got red in my hand.
so this is 49 millimeters measured from the leading edge at the wings as shown. So
49, exactly?
that's what it says, 49.
Okay, well, that seems a little hyper specific, but it's a small plane. Okay, so there's 49. Good enough. From the inside, so there's a taper, guys. Look at the wing. So I'm going out here. I'm gonna go out a ways so I can get to it. And you have to kind of do your best judgment, okay? Same thing here. Okay. And you're probably thinking to yourself, why do you mark it, Brian? Well, I like marking it because it just makes it easier to test in the future. We're gonna take a second and clean up. Okay, so I thought of something we were picking up a little bit, and I realized I've got this double-sided tape thing. I'm just gonna peel this out for now. It's gonna impact the center of gravity, but only like inconsequential amounts because it's so light.
Yeah.
But I can't really depend on that battery being in the right spot. It's gonna stick as soon as I do this, okay? So that needs to be all the way forward.
Okay.
Okay. So pull this off. And that battery is going to be all the way forward if we do that. And then look at the point, 49 millimeters. That's probably good enough for what we're doing.
Okay.
It's gonna be slightly tail heavy if you go any further back, okay? So I would suggest all the way forward. And what that means is stick this on to your doohickey. And let's see if we can get this in. Well, to be honest with you, I kind of feel like we should be able to rotate this either way.
Hopefully.
I don't feel like it's gonna go. I feel like I'm
See,
gonna have
this is
to.
why we don't like Velcro.
Yeah, this is why we don't do Velcro. Now, if you were gonna do Velcro, it would not be that big a deal to put Velcro on this battery and then stick it in there.
But without the extra thickness, it might be able to go in further forward flat, like the skinnier way.
What do you mean, like this?
No, it still doesn't go all the way up.
Yeah.
It still hits that little
Yeah.
lip.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do one more layer like we talked about, okay? And you're probably wondering why. That's okay. You and everybody else. Okay, so we'll just rotate this around. And you see how it's wanting to fight me? Sometimes you can stick just a tiny little bit on there. Yeah, it ain't gonna work this time. It isn't going to work.
Do you want me to get your scissors back?
Nah,
Okay.
it's okay. All I'm doing is just sticking this negative, like backward, okay? And I wanna leave a little slack this time so I can get in and out. Okay, so now that that's done, I can take this tape and just double back on itself. It doesn't need to be anything fancy, folks. In fact, if you try to make it too fancy, my experience is that it usually doesn't work.
It's not gonna work anyway.
It seems like the crappy ones I always make, they actually work better.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we'll just make sure that gets lined up. And then this one, what we'll do is we will get that to slide off. And it might take me just a second to peel this back. Okay, see what I'm doing? I just had a little bit sticking on that side. Okay, I'm gonna fight this and come back. Okay, so this gave me more trouble than I usually have, and I think part of it is just because I was not being very careful. Camera crew, will you grab that? Okay, so I got it started. Now that it's pulled off, I can take that out and I can trim this down. Now this is not like some magical, like approved method that's the best way. It's just a way that I found that works. And then you can take off your original sleeve, okay? Which is kind of a pain to slide on, admittedly. Okay, once this is slid off, you can put that off to the side, discard it or whatever, and then you've got a sleeve that's going to go on, but it's gonna be relatively easy to get on and off. And plus you're gonna be dealing with now Velcro holding this. And if you have a spot that's wanting to stick, like right there, I've just got a little bit of that double-sided sort of behavior going on. So I'm gonna just cut that off and that should help quite a bit. Okay, then we can slide this battery in. Okay, and we want it in the right orientation where we believe it's gonna need to be, which will probably be here. No, here, here. Because I want it to go, how's that gonna line up? Probably like that. I wanna keep it away from the servo, okay? Then I can take this Velcro and son of a biscuit lever. It's a little bit too long. See what I'm talking about, guys?
Yeah.
Tough all the times. So I can cut this now. It's gonna goop up my scissors because this stuff is so sticky. Holy crap.
Oh man.
Yeah. See what I'm talking about?
Don't blame that on me.
Yeah, exactly. So then, slide that to where you think you want it. As you can tell, that's going to give you a spot now where you can either pull the battery in and out, or you can undo the Velcro, just like that. And you got a little bit of forward and backward leeway, okay? Just like this. And you'll be surprised how you can get away with that. And you're like, well, don't you think that'll move on you in flight? Yeah, probably not. But if in doubt, you can make accommodations. Because remember, we've got this length of cable we're dealing with now, which is going to provide a little bit of resistance too. I don't like when plane manufacturers don't give us a good battery holster. We used to deal with this all the time, and it was so stinking annoying. And it just reminds me of what we had to do all the time, because like we haven't done anything like that for years. Because we either make a foam block that holds it, which ironically that would have actually worked really nice. But I just didn't think we were going to have so much trouble with that holster. So all that being said, the next move is to bind, okay?
Okay.
So we have the battery in, we know we need it all the way forward. Oh, and then the other thing too I forgot to do, and my apologies for getting this, folks, is I always label what battery I need and where I need it.
Oh yeah.
So that we can quickly and easily load a battery. So if you're using a different 2200, you're gonna need it all the way forward. So 2200 4S, okay? And the arrow goes forward all the way. Okay, so this is where it goes right now, and it goes to about there. Now, if you used a more conventional 2200 4S, it might fit in there a little bit different, but you can then make a different holster to hold the battery in place, okay? The other thing you can do is you can get a foam chunk if you decide you'd rather do the other method, and you can glue that in there. Now, one other thing that might be super easy is if you happen to have like foam chunks like sitting in your drawers because you're a freak of nature like Brian Phillips RC, and you've got some extra foam glue sitting around. Once you find the battery you like to use, which I'm not necessarily married to this particular solution, you can take a little something like this, two halves, and you can take and trim this exactly. This is from like a crashed plane or something. Okay, so let's say that you have your battery and you know it's going to go in here a certain way. Well, you can set it up like this, and then you can glue this so that there's only one spot for it to go, okay? And then you just glue that in place, and it's just your block. Because then that kind of keeps it from wanting to pop out of the plane. Because you got the Velcro that's going to hold it mostly, and that just keeps it from sliding back, okay? So we might end up doing that, I'm not sure. The other thing you can do is you can make it so that it's got a ramp on it, and the only way to get it out is to actually pull it up, but then you're depending on these magnets to actually hold, which I would not, okay? So again, a little bit of foam to foam on here, stick it into place. In fact, we'll just show the people. It's not really rocket science here.
Okay.
Okay, so this surface, that would give us more surface area. This would give us more gluing area. So we'll go more gluing area, okay? So just a little bit of glue there. Just plop it down in there. Okay, a little bit more. You have to be a little bit more liberal with your application of glue if you use foam to foam. Okay, a little bit more on the tip here. Okay, so now we're gonna let that cook off right now by just setting that to the side. And once that cooks off, you can actually locate that so that your battery will fit. Now, the only problem with that is it's gonna limit you to this short style battery, okay?
Right.
So if you know for sure you're going to be going between 2 or 3 different battery styles, you might be better to make a sideways sandwich. But there again, kind of that's part of the reason why we don't have a lot of obscure sizes like this, okay? So you can see that'll eventually tack up, but it's a lot different, a lot finer. See that? Almost looks like fuzz. Compared to the China glue is very different.
Stringier.
Yeah, stringier and tackier, but then once this starts to tack up,
Yep.
see it's like smaller but more frequent ties, but you can still booger it up and throw it in the garbage can. You don't have to worry about, you know, like going to the hospital to get unglued. Okay, so we'll let that cook off for just a minute longer. Of course, our next step is going to be to bind, okay? Try not to get that down, the balance lead down into the stuff. Okay. So I think at this point we should be safe. And yes, I'm going to use my scissors to drop it down into the position. Okay. All right. So that'll just kind of help hold that battery right where it belongs. Now, is this the only way? No. Is it the best way? Not really. Is it a way? Yes. And that's why we're showing it, is because there are many, many different ways and obviously a million different opinions on the best way. You know, in my case, I'm not even saying this is the best way at all. I'm just saying it's a way, okay?
Right.
Because we've done a lot of things on this channel and we really do firmly believe it's the best way. That's probably not one of them. That's just a way. Okay. In fact, I would say it's probably one of the dumber
Not the
ways
best
we've
way.
recommended. But it'll definitely get the job done.
What are you doing?
I'm putting a piece of tape on it.
Oh, on your foam?
Yeah, it's just because like I trust foam to hold its position, but I'll trust it more if I can tape it down. And the reason I want to tape it down is because if it moves, I want it to go back to that position. Okay. So that tape is not what's going to hold it. That tape is just temporary. Okay. All right. So now it's time to bind our transmitter. So what we need to do to bind is we'll scroll over, we'll click and scroll down. Be prepared to bind. Okay, and then I'm going to plug in the power. This is where if you had a prop driven plane, you'd want to make sure you're like careful. Okay, so now I'm going to press this button and then I'm going to scroll over to, for God's sake, it always times out. I don't know why they time out that menu. Look, Are you up high enough to see?
Yeah, you can see the light from here.
Okay, so it's got the telemetry, all that stuff coming across. And then I'm going to just take a minute and actually square this up just a wee bit because it kind of came out of square just somewhat in the process of screwed around. Remember, we used Velcro to hold it in, so it's not the most robust system, but then if we have a problem, we can get in there and undo the Velcro, right? All right, so now the next move we need to make is, now that we're bound, we have to figure out all the directions of travel, okay? Which should not really be that big a deal. You see how I did that? That was what I meant by we'll have a wire trapping the battery.
Oh, okay. Yep, I see.
So that's only a tiny little bit of pressure, folks, but it's enough to probably hold it in there, believe it or not, because you've got Velcro holding this down still. So now that we're in there, we can go ahead and set this thing down. I like to sit or stand behind the plane until such time as we're done. So we have an elevator that's not even hooked up still, remember? Then we have ailerons, so that is actually correct, and that is actually correct. We haven't set up anything for, see, and look, that works. Tell you, turn it off. Turn it off, turn it off, and now it's on, okay? So that is the correct direction. So it's basically, what I was saying is you can overdrive it, because you can run them a little bit further by moving both sticks. Not a problem. Now, let's check thrust reverse. Throttle cuts off. Okay, good, it's blowing this direction. And there is no change of state, so maybe that isn't a thrust reverse.
Okay.
Okay, so throttle cuts off, forward thrust, all the way down. Okay, so thrust reverse does nothing that we can tell. Let's go to monitor and just verify. Yeah, that's definitely on channel 5.
We did change our G. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. There's forward thrust. Yep, I don't see any change. Okay, so maybe that isn't thrust reverse. Whatever, I'm fine with it. Okay, so the elevator's not hooked up, but we know we're neutral. We know we're not in safe. And how do we know that? Because it hasn't tried to move the plane. So you can see this right here. It's stuck way out. So what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to pop this open. And guys, look at this. We have a Phillips screw here. And we're gonna loosen that screw and let it slide through because there is only an L bend back here.
Oh, there is no adjustment back there.
Yep, there is no adjustment whatsoever.
Okay.
And so what we have to do now is grab a Phillips. And so I'll just grab this little tool kit. So this tool kit, 3mm. Loosen that, bring it all the way forward because I'm pretty sure we're gonna be all the way forward. Okay, tighten it a little bit. And then what you're gonna see is, we're still not quite there, but that's okay. I'm gonna snap this down. And then they're suggesting that we go to the, they don't tell us.
Does not tell us.
Look, backward. Okay, so because it's backward, I'm not gonna mess around. I'm just gonna go to servo setup, travel, reverse, elevator. Okay. Now, when I move the elevator, it goes up and then down. Up and then down, okay? So we'll go to the outsidemost hole. Okay. Elevator up, elevator down. Honestly, I don't know where it needs to be, but they do tell you measurements here. They suggest 30 to 80 millimeters.
Seems like.
Okay, so basically, whatever. I'm just gonna put it in the inside hole.
Okay.
I don't know, so I'm just gonna do that. Then, this thing is gonna snap on. It slides over the end and then snaps along the length of it, and then that's locked on. Elevator up, elevator down. Pretty simple. Now, that being all said, we need to, and by the way, you can fly it without these tip tanks if you don't like them. You can also glue the tip tanks on if you prefer. I needed that.
Oh.
Okay, so now we can make adjustments here if we need to, or if we want to, but I'm telling you right now, I've got no adjustment beyond that. And so the only option is torque it down. And then if you want, you could change the spline position here. I'm not gonna go so far as to do that if you don't mind putting that back now. Thank you. Okay, so now we'll put the canopy on. Let's go back to testing, okay? Elevator up, elevator down. Roll left, roll right. Yaw left, yaw right, which is the same. Roll left, roll right, because it's only a 3-channel. And then we have throttle cut and we have forward thrust, okay? So throttle cut's on, timer's cleared. We have expo, all that stuff working. Now we need to set up flaps. Flap system, switch B. Now, because this is a belly lander and all that, ooh, how are we gonna deal with this? Are we gonna do a mechanical trim on that? Let's see how they adjust. Oh yeah, we'll just adjust that super easy.
Okay.
Super easy. Okay, first things first. Before we start adjusting, we gotta center these things. You gotta turn that so that's out.
Oh.
Okay. Okay, so guys, listen. We are at no flap setting, okay? So this is neutral on the ailerons. So what I need to do is I need to loosen this so that it lets go of that little bite point. Once I do that, I can center the control surface and then re-tighten this so that it's now even. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Oh, jeez. Okay, so then we can move it, see if it returns. This one's like way close, but I'm still gonna loosen it anyway. Straighten it up, and then torque it down. You guys are probably thinking that seemed like kind of a pretty small adjustment. It really was. It was not a big enough adjustment that really mattered too much. I'm gonna go up to a 4mm Phillips and try to torque this down just a little bit. You see how my finger is under there and I'm supporting it? I need to be able to really bite onto it. Oh, that hurts my thumb because it's stabbing me. All right, so I've got it torqued down nicely. Now the ailerons are working. Okay, so now we can come back to this. Roll left, roll right, elevator up, elevator down. Roll left, roll right. Very good. Now flaps. So option 1, we can go up, which would be like a spoiler on. Okay. So let's do -35. Okay. Then we'll do like -75, -80. Just a little bit more downward. Well, let's go a little bit further. Let's do -90. That's pretty good. Pretty good amount of throw. I'm surprised. Now those are outboard flaperons. Okay, so that means that your elevator correction should actually be when they're outboard like this instead of inboard. The elevator needs to go opposite. Normally you would go down with the elevator when you're down on inboard flaps. Because these are outboard ailerons that are acting as flaps, then we need the elevator correction to go up, okay? I don't know why you step back for that. Okay, see how that went up? See how it's going up? Okay, so I don't know how much we're gonna need, but it's usually a little bit more than with regular flaps. So it'd be like, let's do 18. Now, let's set this to 2 seconds. Take off flaps, now landing flaps. Okay, so we have a roll, take off flaps, landing flaps. Pretty sweet. Roll, take off flaps, landing flaps. Okay, awesome. Now we can go into servo setup, travel, and we can roll this up a little bit. And what do I want to see? Highlight. See how it started moving? Looks like it went almost all the way there. So I'm gonna go to 135. Okay. And I'm gonna go to 135 here as well. And I want even deployment up and down. So roll left, roll right, take off flaps, landing flaps, and you've still got lots of throw, and then you can still use this even if you're hand launching. I feel like we might need a little bit more elevator correction, but I am not sure. The other thing too is you'll notice that even outside of all these modes, we have a little tiny bit of up elevator. That's because we're quite literally out of throw on our mechanical adjustment. So we're gonna get what we get on that, okay? There is one way you could correct for that a little bit, and it's gonna be of minor consequence. Would you mind grabbing that? What you can do is you can actually bend this right there, and that would help just a hair with the deployment of that elevator, okay? But it also, because it's not straight, it will take a little bit of the strength out of that. Okay, so now we have all the surfaces work in the right direction. We have elevator up, elevator down, elevator up, elevator down, roll left, roll right. We have takeoff flaps and we have landing flaps. Okay. Now, one of the big ticket items when you're doing flaperons is, do you want to have spoilerons as well? Now, we also tied this to switch C, which we're probably going to regret here in mere moments, because a lot of times we set up a very complicated mix where we undermine this to flip it so that it becomes flaperons, spoilerons instead.
Yeah.
It's always such a pain in the butt to do it, so we're just not going to do that on this plane.
Okay.
We're going to go with just, it's set the way it is, and if we need to switch it, what we'll do is we'll go into the flap system and just make these the opposite direction for spoilerons.
Okay.
Okay? All right, so that being said, what else do we need to do? Forward programming. Forward programming, this is how we set up AS3X and SAFE. First time setup. Make sure all your stuff is done first for regular setup. Setup level and hit continue. Now this is the level for flight level, okay? Or actually, no, this is just figuring out the position of the model relative. Okay, look, that's what it figured out. That's correct. Okay, so that's the orientation inside the aircraft. So we'll hit continue. Gain channel is on aux 7. If you move this, it should pick up, but it never does. Oh, excuse me, aux 8. And then they have aux 2, 3. It's so confusing.
Yeah.
They need to fix that. Okay, so that's a variable gain, so we should hear one dance. 1, but not 2. I'm going to return to forward programming. Gyro settings. AS3X settings. And then you can see they are adjustable, but how do we know? Fixed adjustable. Adjustable. And it's not changing the flight mode, so that's problematic. We need to get that set. So we can do it here. This one I know we're going to go to F mode, and it doesn't find it. So we can go to aux 7, which happens to be F mode. And you're like, but aux 7, you only have a 6-channel receiver. That's right, we have multiple channels above. I call them unpluggables. Okay, acknowledge that, hit next. Now look, you can tell it's working because it switches. It didn't switch before. So in this, we want it off, so I'm going to go to inhibit. And in this, we want AS3X, and we want AS3X. Okay. Next. Okay, so we can walk back. Now we can go first time safe setup. We already did the flight mode, but we'll just make sure it's working. Hit continue. I want it in flight mode 3. Okay, so this is where you need it to fly level. Okay, so you can see it's kind of nose down. I want it to be just perfectly flight level, okay? So I think on this, we'll take a screwdriver and just kind of work it under the nose. Does that look pretty close to you? Okay, so now look, level, model, and capture attitude. Holy cow, is it even? That's awesome. Sweet, so it was like perfectly level. Okay, so in flight mode 3, we're gonna set our limits to not anything pretty much. So you can be banked and pitched all the way in all the different directions that you can be, which helps to maximize our fun. Now safe is self-level with angle demand. And then when we're in this mode, it's off, and this mode, it's off, okay? Okay, and then hit next, and we can hit apply. Now we should hear 2 sets of chirp. 2 dances. That's 1, and then 2. And you don't hear the 3rd one because there's only 2 axes working here. Okay, so now I can exit to main screen, or we'll return to forward programming, and we'll do other settings. Where is that one? Aux? No. Hand launch assist. Okay, hand launch assist, flight mode. We want it in flight mode 3. Okay. Threshold for G's, 1.5. Threshold for throttle, 70%. Duration, 3 seconds. Pitch offset, 15. So what that's going to do is when you're over 70% throttle for 1.5 G's or greater, it's going to assume you've thrown it, and it's going to give a 15-degree increase on elevator for 3 seconds in flight mode 3, aka safe. Pretty cool, huh? So that's now set. Then I can go to utilities, gyro response test. So now it's going to maximize the elevator. Is going to show us it's going the right direction. Elevator, ailerons, both ailerons, remember they're tied together. Now with flaps deployed, still correct, still correct, still correct, still correct, still correct, still correct. So now I can walk right out of this menu And we're done there. Now, if you don't want to do it that way, you can go to AS3X settings. You can change this 1X all the way up to 4X, turn the knob all the way up, and throttle cut is on. Now it's active. And I don't know if that's all the way up. That doesn't seem like it's all the way up.
Doesn't seem like it.
Throttle cuts off, a little bit of thrust. It's not gonna matter, now it's on. Throttle cuts back on. In the menu, it's not gonna actually run it, but look, elevator up, elevator down. See, as I go up, this needs to respond to counter and to counter. Same thing, the aileron up, aileron down. Okay, now, on, off, on for AS3X, off, and safe. Right, we know it's safe. Roll on its back. Look at the elevator. Oh yeah. Look at the elevator. Oh yeah. Now, back to AS3X only. Knob's all the way up. Knob is all the way up. Come over here. Knob is all the way up. All the way down. All the way up. Okay. So I like to run it like that, and from 4X, I'm gonna bring that back down to 1X, and then I'm gonna listen all the way up, all the way down, all the way up, all the way down, halfway, off. Okay, so we know that all the stabilizer functions are working. We can hear them work, we can hear them turn on and off. We can tell that the intensity is changing as prescribed by the master gain. We can also tell that we are getting our, the only thing we can't really easily test is hand launch assist, okay? Which technically you could test that. Okay, so you come out of the menu, go to safe, throttle cuts off. I'm gonna hold this. I can't tell.
No, I couldn't either.
It's too hard to see.
Yeah.
But it's gonna go for a period of time, okay? And that's a pretty good amount of throttle. That's a lot of power. This thing's gonna be kind of a powerhouse. Throttle cuts off. Let's just see. Yeah, that's gonna scream. It's gonna be pretty cool. It's got a lot of P factor. It's kind of spinning out of my hand. So exciting might be what we're gonna enjoy in a few minutes if the rain has stopped. But guys, just listen, okay? This build was not hard, but it was more involved than you had to make it, okay? Admittedly, we did this for people that are gonna be using an AR-630 for other planes, given that this is a limited engagement. We understand not everybody is gonna be able to get one. If you want one, I would suggest ordering it right away. From the links in the video description below, you will support Brian Phillips RC when you do so, and that is one of the best ways you can support us financially is by buying the planes from the links in the video description below. If you have questions, leave them down below and we'll do our best to get to you. But admittedly, we are not able to make it around to every comment like we used to. We used to, and it was near impossible. At about 100,000 subscribers, and now we're like 156,000 or something like that. So we have been really happy with the stuff coming from Hobby King, and surprised, happy. I think this thing is gonna look really good in the air. I'm excited to see it fly. If you have other ways you wanna support us, there's Patreon for monthly support, YouTube members for monthly support as well, and YouTube super thanks for one-time donations, or PayPal for one-time donations. If we helped you out and you don't wanna buy this plane, there's other options right there for you. But at the end of the day, the best way to support Brian Phillips RC is watch the videos, smash the like button, click the bell for notifications when you do subscribe. And if we helped you in some small way and you want to help us out financially, the best way, like I said, is to buy the particular plane that you're interested in. If this is not your cup of tea or they're sold out and you would like to have one, check out BrianPhillipsRC.com. All our planes are sorted by type, whether it be through the affiliate partner that we worked with, whether it be Hobby King or Aeros or FMS or Horizon Hobby or E-Fly, whatever it is. They're all sorted there by type, by affiliate, and then also by type. So like this would be a, gosh, is this general aviation? I guess it's technically a trainer aircraft, but it'd be like a Warbird.
And it'd be in the
it's
EDF,
a hybrid.
for sure.
And EDF,
yeah.
so 64 millimeter EDF. So we have them sorted so you can find them. And the whole idea is that you can find what you need, you can do a basic comparison and get what you really want. Because at the end of the day, we're not trying to force you guys into some mold that like only certain people like 64 millimeter EDFs that are hand launched. No, we don't say that. You guys get to make up your own mind on what you love and what you enjoy and appreciate. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna help, once you've decided what you enjoy and appreciate, we're gonna help put you into circumstances to have a good maiden flight. And you may wanna even adjust a lot after you do a maiden flight. But bear in mind, when you watch us fly, you're watching us fly for the first, second, third, fourth time. And that's pretty much all you see. Okay, you don't see me fly the 75th time. That doesn't often happen.
Nope.
It has, but just not for years. So we are pretty much flying them for the first, second, third times is what you're seeing. Even our second thoughts might be the 5th or 6th time I've flown a plane, okay? And that is another thing too. We do unbox build radio setup for models, and then we have a maiden flight. They release at the same time. And then sometimes we'll come back with second thoughts, and sometimes we'll have revisits. And there's also times when we do basic comparisons between models. We don't do it as often just because the affiliates get all pissed off about it because they don't like seeing their stuff directly up to a competitive offering. Well, we don't really care. We just don't have time for it. So maybe someday we'll do more of those. But in the meantime, we really appreciate you guys watching. I do really like the L-39. I think it's sweet. I'm afraid I'm going to be disappointed with no rudder, but I have been disappointed before. And so I am fully prepared to be disappointed again.
This one at least has a bigger EDF, so more power. Is that helpful?
It doesn't really undermine, I mean, it doesn't really undo my disdain for no rudder.
No rudder.
Planes. I would rather have a rudder and no retracts than have retracts and no rudder, because then I'd really be annoyed.
Right.
But the truth is, I feel like they did a good job of striking the balance between, we're gonna give you some scale feel, but we're not gonna go like over the top with it. So if you wanna keep it light and airy and easy to fly, they have done that, I think. It feels like it's gonna be good. If you guys have questions, leave them in the comments below. We'll do our best to answer them. No LEDs on this. And yes, you can fly without the wingtip tanks, but I think an L-39 looks kind of weird without the tip tanks. So my suggestion is, of course, fly with the tip tanks. Camera crew, you got any other thoughts? Did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
So we tested everything. The only thing that didn't work was thrust reverse, which is kind of weird. Throttle cuts off, forward thrust. Yeah, I don't know why. So maybe it's just not a feature. Maybe that's a programming port. And there are certain ESCs that do not work for that.
And this is only a 50 amp ESC. What we've seen from Hobby King that we've had thrust reverse is like the 70s and 80s.
I just think it's weird that we can see, I just think it's weird that we can actually see that yellow cable, okay? So now we just gotta check our voltage. We're at 93%, so we're gonna have to top this off. Okay guys, we're gonna fly now. Stay tuned, so much more from Brian Phillips RC. Thanks for watching, come back for more.